Out of all the news that James Gunn shared about his future plans for the DCU, there's one piece of information that's going to completely change how you see it going forward. I guarantee it. Hey all, welcome back to my channel, Workstation. Today we are breaking down the slated future of the DCU as revealed by James Gunn. James and Peter Safran, alongside a collection of other excellent writers, have written out a detailed plan for the next 8 to 10 years for the DCU and what it will become. And from the sounds of it, things are finally getting back on track. For years, the DCU has been panned by critics and viewers alike. I definitely had issues with it too, but as a mega fan, I thought the positive things outweighed the negative things. But I do agree that a refresh is fully needed and that James Gunn is the right man for the job. Let me tell you why. James Gunn is a character-oriented storyteller. If you look at his body of work, it's filled to the brim with colorful characters. DC Comics have always been defined by their larger-than-life characters. People love and read these comics not for relatability, but for wish fulfillment. It functions best not when it's trying to comment on the state of the world or the plight of people, but when it takes its characters and puts them through the ringer to see where they end up. These stories are powered by their strong character writing. Because we fall in love with these characters, we end up super invested in the storylines that they're involved in, because we care about where our favorite character is going to end up. For example, let's take Superman. People around the world love Superman, sure. I mean, he is the original superhero after all. But Superman fell immensely in popularity, to the point that declining comic sales forced DC to kill him off because they thought people took him for granted. But that's not what the problem was. The problem was that he wasn't interesting enough as a character. Characters are defined by their experiences, their struggles, their flaws. A character without any of those is just, well, boring. No one cares. Why should they? The reason people started caring about Superman again was not because of a small absence, but because they saw him struggle. He had never struggled like he did in his fight against Doomsday, and that exposed his character. He wasn't just an all-American Boy Scout, but rather a man who was trying his best to meet the expectations of everyone around him, to be the god that people saw him as. But he failed, and that failure reverberated across his character. And I believe this is what James Gunn wants to expose for us one more time. He wants to characterize Superman in a way we haven't seen before, for us to fall in love with him as a character again, regardless of whoever plays him. So that he can pull the rug right from under us. The single most important announcement to come out of this entire slate, in my opinion, is that of the Authority. If you don't know who these guys are and what they're all about, let me just give you the relevant info. If you want to learn more,
we have technology.
The Authority was a team assembled by Superman to assault Warworld, a weaponized planet controlled by Mongols, and free the people that were trapped there. And the reason he recruited the Authority was because he was starting to lose his powers in the comics. That's all you need to know for the purpose of this video. I know you want more, but shh. That's for James Gunn to give you. I believe that Superman Legacy is going to lead to something happening to Superman where he starts to lose his powers. Because what better way to humanize him than to, well, humanize him? I believe this is what the formation of the Authority is for and why they were announced in this slate. This team signifies the presence of Mongol with their connection to Warworld, but more importantly, of Brainiac. Yes, you heard me right, Brainiac. When Superman recruited the Authority, he was captured by Ultra Humanite, an intelligent gorilla who transferred his brain into the body of none other than Solomon Grundy. How is Solomon Grundy related to all of this? I believe he's going to be the aftermath of Swamp Thing. Okay, I know you're confused about where I'm going, but stay with me. But first, let's talk about Lanterns. I think the mysterious events that are going to be happening in Lanterns are that they are going to discover people vanishing, if not an entire city. What's happening in that TV series? Mongol took them. Speaking of cities, let's talk about Kandor. Kandor is a city of Krypton that was stolen right before Krypton blew up. And now that we're on Krypton, let's talk about Supergirl. James Gunn said that her story would be one of her being raised on a chunk of Krypton. Now that you're thoroughly overwhelmed by all this information that I've thrown at you, let me put it all together. We start with Superman, reconciling his Kryptonian heritage with his human upbringing, learning who he is and who he needs to be, realizing that even though he can become a part of this world, he will always be missing a part of himself, lost in Krypton. And then we cut to Supergirl on Kandor, living out her life unaware of her surrounding truth, thinking all is well until the day she realizes she's a prisoner in Brainiac's collection. Then comes the last entry in the announced slate, the horror-filled Swamp Thing, and consequently, Solomon Grundy. This leads me to what will happen at the conclusion of Chapter 1, the end of the beginning. This chapter is going to set up a mega war between the DC heroes and Brainiac. So, here's my mega theory. Superman will be recruited by the Green Lanterns to help them recover the people taken by Mongol. He will then recruit the other heroes that we've been introduced to so far, including, yes, the Authority. They will then go assault Warworld, where many of the Authority will die while fighting Mongol and his champions, leaving Superman and the others wounded and free for Brainiac to come in and take Warworld as a part of his collection. Brainiac will see that he's captured another Kryptonian and will add him to Kandor. This will lead Superman to discover his cousin, Supergirl, and allowing him to discover that missing piece of himself, his Kryptonian heritage. He will change the jaded Supergirl, and together they will break out of Kandor, and breaking out the other heroes that Brainiac trapped as well. At which point, they will flee to Earth, where Brainiac will follow them, thus setting up a massive war that we will see between Brainiac and Superman on Earth at the end of Chapter 2. Alright, man, that was a long. Mr. Gunn, if you're watching, tell me if I nailed it. Probably didn't, but man, I hope I did. Regardless, if you enjoyed this video and want to see more of this unruly behavior, make sure to like and subscribe and smack that bell icon harder than Batman is going to smack Damian Wayne in The Brave and the Bold.